Everyone knew me as being super fit. I was dragging people around to do fitness with me. So I got it 10 minutes later. It was like immediate. I started to get stabbing pain. I went to hospital like over 100 times. I have to be there in case this is going to, I die. Because we didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to die or not. I didn't know what was happening to me. And he did a bunch of tests on me, and he was the one that diagnosed me with vaccine-induced long COVID and Costochondritis. I lost everything. I ended up in a psych facility. When everyone else turns their back on you and all you have left is your voice, I am not going to let anyone get away with this. Before I had the COVID vaccination, I was a yoga teacher. I was living in Tauranga. I was super fit. I was doing CrossFit, and I was up at 5 a.m. every morning and running down the mount and doing different workouts. And like everyone knew me as being super fit. I was dragging people around to do fitness with me, and I was on the go all the time. I was very busy. I was working at a rest home. I had 3 different roles there. I was a healthcare worker and a program facilitator and a receptionist. So I could, move to a different role if there was no one to cover. And at that time, it was like, obviously being a healthcare worker, we were on the front line, and we didn't get a choice. I went with my oldest daughter. We were going to get it together because she was going to be joining the Navy, and I wanted to keep my job and get into shops and things like that. And we went to a pop-up chemist in Tauranga, and I walked in, and we were like, my daughter and I were like, who's going to go first? Kind of joking about it. And she said, well, you go first. And if something happens to you, then, we know that I'm not going to get it, as a joke, not thinking that it was actually going to happen. And so I got it, and then 10 minutes later, it was like immediate. I started to get stabbing pain on the left side of my chest. It happened straight away for me. My daughter rushed me to the emergency department, and the doctor there said to me that I was the 4th person in that day that had had this sort of reaction, and that they don't know what's going to happen to me, and that we just got to wait and see. It's a waiting game. And that's when I was like, but I thought that this was all, like it was safe and effective, and the only thing would be like myocarditis, which is rare, 1 in a million. And so I was thinking, I must have myocarditis. Like it's just that 1 in a million. This chest pain didn't go away, and it was getting worse. I was getting stabbing pains. Had a tight chest, like someone was sitting on my chest. I started to get a rash on my arms, like a Pichu rash, which is the little red dots on my arms and on my chest. And I had a metallic taste in my mouth. They just took my obs, and they were like, your obs are fine. And they sent me home. They said it's a waiting game, so we're just going to see what happens. And so I was just waiting to see what would happen. And then it didn't get better. On the 19th of October, 2021, I went to the emergency doctors, and they sent me to get a blood D-dimer test done immediately. And my D-dimer was elevated. I kept going back into the emergency department because I was in so much pain. It was rare for me I've never had anything like this. I started to get really fatigued, like I couldn't walk as much. I was losing energy. Every time I'd go in, I'd hear things like, they'd say, the doctor would be like, it's all in your head. There was one time I was on the floor for 5 hours in the emergency department holding my heart, like crying and begging for them to help me. The doctors were just walking past me like I like looking at me like they knew, but they couldn't do or say anything to me. And I thought, this is crazy because I'm a healthcare worker and I'm qualified. And I said to one of the doctors, I am a qualified healthcare worker. What is going on here? I said, I know in my body that something's not right. I've never experienced anything like this before. And yeah, the level of gaslighting was incomprehensible. I mean, another time I was in hospital and like my blood was clotting in the needle. And I just remember looking at the nurse and her being like weirded out about it. And I was like, what's going on? I went to hospital probably around like over 100 times. And yeah, it was always the same thing, but I was like, I have to be there in case this is going to, like, I die. Because we didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to die or not. I didn't know what was happening to me. I was put on all these mental health drugs to shut everything down, to stop me from going in. And I tried my best to not take them, but I was like, I'm just going to surrender to this because I started to believe it was in my head for a bit. I started to gaslight myself just to have some kind of normalcy, and the mental health medication didn't change my OBS. So OBS are like your heart rate and your blood pressure. It didn't change it because it wasn't mental health. One of the people that were helping me there, one of the workers, said that a lot of their vaccines are being sent there. They're being pawned off here to mental health. My partner at the time was so shut down. Everyone around me was shut down. I was getting attacked from friends, longtime friends. Like, why are you talking like this? This is in your head. Like, why are you saying that? I'm like, because it's happening. It's not in my head. This is happening. And so I've lost a whole bunch of friends and family. Both my daughters have got trauma from it. They saw me as like a super fit, super on the go, super mum, to just in bed all day with the curtain shut. And my partner at the time had to carry me to the shower and then I had to be propped up like this in the bed with pillows everywhere so that I could breathe properly. It was pretty bad and it was really hard for them. And
did she get the vaccine?
Pardon?
Did she get the vaccine?
No, both my kids didn't, thank God for that. And it's really affected them and they need counselling for that. Every time I'd go into hospital, is mum going to come back alive? Because I was in a really bad state for a very long time and that state still comes and goes. Yeah. I thought, I'm going to put this on my Facebook. Something's not normal here. And I started to get messages from people saying they know someone who knows someone. And that's how, I found everyone else. So we were all just like this whole world of people who are vaccinated with all these outrageous symptoms that weren't noted on the Ministry of Health website. And so I decided to get an immunologist in Auckland, Dr. Rohan Emeritanga, and he did a bunch of tests on me, and he was the one that diagnosed me with vaccine-induced long COVID and costochondritis. I was asked by one of his colleagues, Dr. Anna Brooks, to come to Auckland to give blood samples to her for testing. And I got there to the lab, she was there, and there were other people there that had long COVID and were vaccinated. And she took a lot of our blood and to do testing at Auckland University. And she said that there are microclots in all of our blood. They're just tiny little microscopic sized blood clots. Those microclots, the little tiny ones that are microscopic, pass through the vein, and they clog them for like a second or two, but it's not enough to have a full-on stroke. They're too small. and it's undetectable by a normal microscope at, say, like the lab clinic. They won't pick up. You need like a proper scientific, like proper strong microscope to see them, which they have at Auckland University. It's like a mini stroke or a mini heart attack, but the clots aren't big enough. But over the time, if you're not keeping that blood thin, whether it's like taking, blood thinners or anything like that, the blood becomes, that all kind of sticks together and it gets really thick. It's very hard to detect.
What did she say caused those clots?
The vaccine, because I hadn't had COVID. So she knew, like, I guess with Dr. Brooks and, our specialists, they're pro-vax, they're pro-science, so they're kind of not this way or that way. And she's more interested in like how my body has reacted to this vaccine. And what's happened is my body is still in fight and flight. The immune system is still fighting something that shouldn't be there. I lost everything. I ended up in a psych facility. Because obviously, if you've been gaslit for that long and then your family are like unsure about whether or not this is happening or, they're being gaslit, I lost everything. I lost my relationship. I lost my job. I lost my health. I lost my spirit. I always say, like, I feel like I died when I got that vaccine. That's how it feels. That energy isn't, that spirit I used to have isn't there anymore. I feel like I needed to come in here to have this interview with you, to bring awareness and to give hope to others, because there is a lot of people out there that they're injured and they are too scared to come forward. And when everyone else turns their back on you, and all you have left is your voice, and I was like, I am not going to let anyone get away with this. I've got a little bit of strength, and that's enough to be on my phone and lie in bed. And I used that to, the anger that I had to push me through. And I had a couple of really strong people next to me at the time. So others that were vaccinated, Linda Warden, NZDSOS, and, I had some support from even Destiny's Church, and people were like donating some money and helping me that I'd had no idea who they were. So I like lost all my family and friends, and then this other world opened up, and it was like, it kept me going. But in terms of ACC, I was really upset, and Linda put me onto Beatrix Woodhouse, who's the ACC lawyer for all the vaccine injuries in New Zealand. She's great, and we just went at it, and we were declined. And then we had my immunologist up here on board, and he was like, yeah, let's do this. So we did, and we fought it for 3 years. Just got accepted, just won the case.
Beautiful. And what does that mean, some financial security for you? What does it mean?
I've been compensated for what I have paid for, which is thousands of dollars. And they've given me a physio and a psychologist and all those things. But it doesn't change. It's great, but it doesn't change much, and they've given me things that I need, like a wheelchair or a shower seat, and like things to help me around the house. I was like, it's a bit late because I'm kind of starting to walk a little bit, again. So ACC had their specialist when we were going through court, and we had mine, and they were writing reports. So their specialist went through my medical history and had put, oh no, Angela's had chronic fatigue, this, and this. And then I was like, no, I didn't. And then I had a look through my medical notes, and what he had done is he had put, so 2019, Angela had diarrhea. She's feeling a bit tired. So we take out the diarrhea part. She's feeling a bit tired.
That's fraud.
It is. And so I went back through everything and I sent it in and I said, you didn't say the rest of it. So that's when ACC were like, yeah, okay, what are you guys? They backed out. But I had letters and things too from my previous personal trainers at CrossFit and all the different things I was involved in, fitness and athletics and kickboxing, and all of that helped as well with my case because I had to really show and prove that I was physically fit and able before I had it. And I had to send in photos as well of what it was like, what my body was like before.
So you're not getting any regular income from ACC?
No, I'm just on a sickness benefit. And I'm like, I sell water filters. So to get some extra money on the side, like everything I do is online. I just do what I can do. Yeah. I've just spent the last 3 years in my room isolated. Yeah, it's traumatic. I get sick quite easily now. Like, my life is different. I feel a little bit like I'm basically an invalid, and I don't like to call myself that, but that's just how it is. And I feel like I'm coming to this acceptance stage with it all. As in, for me, not what's happened. I don't think I can accept that. But for me, as my body, yeah, you've really got to fight hard, and it takes all the energy out of you. It took all the energy out of me to get to here. But I knew that I had to do it, not only for myself, but for others. It would open the door for other people to get help because there's a lot of suffering. There is a lot more people that are injured that some of them don't even know they're injured. I would like to see like a separate organisation or something that investigates the vaccines and compensation for all the vax injured. Proper compensation, not ACC compensation where you have to jump hoops and get declined and get stressed out. It's really hard, I feel, too, when you get to this point and you realise that, there isn't any help out there and no one's coming to save you. No one's going to fix this. And all you can do is just keep talking and keep speaking up and telling your story. And honestly, like if I'm in an Uber or I'm talking to someone randomly on the street, they know someone who knows someone who's injured or one of their family members has died. And this is the reality of it. It feels like you're screaming out and no one's listening and no one wants to hear about it. And for me, it's been like that. Like I'm screaming for help and no one wants to. It's just it feels like torture, to be honest. And when you know that other people are going through the same thing as you, this was forced onto us. We were brainwashed to do this. We were coerced to do this. We're going to lose our jobs if we don't. Your kids, your grandmother's going to die. Like this is all the rhetoric that was coming in from everywhere. I remember standing in the chemist and get your vaccine, in the supermarket, get your vaccine. Like it was over and over. It's repetitive. I think the thing that got me the most was the children weren't allowed to play sports and things like that. And I was like, this isn't the country that I want my children to grow up in. I love New Zealand. I was born in America. I love New Zealand. But this is something I've never seen and never would have thought it would happen here. It makes me sad.